Hi, for this project, I wanted to see if I could reinvent the Impossible Dovetail Puzzle box, which is a box that had a lid that would slide off that looked like it was an impossible way for the lid to slide off. In the original puzzle, they would use a steel ball bearing that would be attracted to magnets that were both in the base and the lid. And then depending on how you would hit the box, it would transfer that steel ball bearing either to the lid or the base, allowing you to then move the box or lock the box, however the ball bearing was inside the box. I didn't like that design because if you had the box open and you lost that steel bearing, the puzzle was no longer operational. So I wanted to see if I could create it in such a way that the mechanism was locked in place with the box, so that way it was always usable. So I'm using the magnets from Bamboo Studio, which are 12 millimeters by 3 millimeters, and I printed a test subject here so that we can test the theory on if we can use 3 magnets in order to do that. It is really important that the polarity of the magnets are placed in the correct way whenever you're doing this, because we're putting the magnets inside the plastic as it is printing. So we want to make sure that the magnets are facing the correct way to make sure that the mechanism works as expected. And why it's important is because I've created these two as well, and I'll link the model in MakerWorld inside this project, so that way you can go through and you can find these, which will help you in making sure that the magnets are put in the right direction, because it just picks up the magnet always in the right way, no matter which one you're using, and there's a positive and negative polarity for these. Now, the way that this puzzle works is there is a print-in-place like piston that's inside here that moves in and acts like a lock to the lid. And inside that is a magnet inside the lid, inside the piston. So whenever it gets close enough to it, you'll see it pulls that, it will pull that piston up and into the cavity that's inside the lid. So this is the theory that we're testing out, and we're seeing how well those two things attract. So we can slide this on, and if you heard it, it clicked and it pulled that piston down, and this is now locked in place and it can't move. The third part of that is on the base of the design is also the other magnet, which will allow it to be able to pull the polarity in and pull on that piston, but it's not going to pull it because the magnet is closer to the lid at this point, and it's further away from this one. So it's going to stay locked even though that other magnet got into play. So in order to open it, you have to smack it on the table, and then it'll just simply come off because this magnet is now attracted to the bottom magnet. So let's go ahead and build it. We are at now line 57 of the middle plate for the puzzle box. There is a pause built into the slicer at row 58. So it's going to pause and allow us an opportunity to go ahead and glue the magnets into the 2 sliding pistons that help create the lock for the lid. In order to make sure that you're placing the magnets in the correct orientation, I have created these applicators that go through and hold the magnet in a very specific location. I have a positive one and a negative one. For both the base and the middle, you want to use the positive to make sure that everything is going in the same direction. You want to apply a small amount of glue to the inside cavity where the batteries go. And then you can take the magnet applicator and just simply press it on top of where the magnet goes, and then slide it off to the side, and then let it sit there. You can pick up another magnet, making sure that you're using the same applicator, and again, just go in and just press it in and slide it off to the side to make applicating those magnets very easy. And we're going to give it a second to make sure that that glue dries. And then what's going to happen is whenever we hit resume on the display of your printer, it will go ahead and make sure it covers those magnets. We're approaching layer number 23 on the lid. Because the lid prints upside down compared to the other 2 sections of the magnetic puzzle box, the polarization of the magnets needs to be put in opposite. We use the positive side up on the base in the middle section. So for this section, we are going to be using the negative side to go up. So once again, you're going to go in and you're going to add a small amount of glue inside the cavity where the battery is being, or the magnet is being held. And then take the applicator, put the magnet in, and just slide off to the side, making sure it's in securely. And then once again, make sure you're using the correct polarity of the magnet. Put it in, and just make sure it goes in. You want to give it a minute to go ahead and let that glue dry before resuming on the print. Make sure that there's no wet glue that is creeped up outside of the well where the glue was put in. And go ahead and hit resume. The nozzle does have to heat back up before it will pick up again. So now that everything is printed out, we can see that we have our pistons built into the middle shell here, and they can go up and down, and they move pretty freely. You can see that there's a small guide that's on the inside that is what the piston is following along in that path right there. And they have two sides on that path, if you can see them in the camera very well. And there is a magnet that we glued to the inside of these pistons, and they're being held in place. Then there's these small holes on the back, which will line up with the pins that are on the base. And once you're on that base, you just simply have to press down, and that sits those all down, and it's clicked in place really nicely. Now, those pistons are magnet attracted to the magnets that are down inside the base plate down here. And then we have our lid. Our lid has that impossible dovetail shape to it. It has the two grooves that are cut over to match up with the grooves that are in the puzzle box here. And there's a nice cavity to be able to put any kind of item that you want in here, whether it's cash, gift cards, or even a small gift can fit inside here. I made this fairly large so that you can put some decent gifts inside this. And then you just simply take the box and you just line up the lid on it like this, and then you slide the lid over. And then the lid will slide back and forth like this, no problem at all, until you go through, turn it upside down, and just simply give it a small drop like that. That raises those pistons up, and now the box is locked. And it'll be up to someone to figure out how they can do that. If they've seen the impossible dovetail trick before, they'll try to tap one side, but that doesn't work on this one because we put two pistons in it. You actually have to drop this flat on the table, and when you do, well, it out now allows it to slide open. And then you can simply reset it and allow the next person their fun to try to open the box.